Hello guys, gals and non-binary pals, welcome back to Lotusbloom Gaming with me, Lotus, on another budget brew. This one in particular is Riku of Many Paths, who is a single green, blue and a red for a 3/3 human wizard. Whenever you cast a modal spell, a spell that says choose one or more, choose up to X, where X is the number of times you chose a mode for that spell. We can choose exile the top card of your library until the end of your next turn, you may play it. Put a +1/+1 counter on Riku of Many Paths and it gains trample to end a turn. Or we make a 1/1 blue bird with flying. Before we get into it, if you like the video, please consider subscribing and liking and sharing. It means the world. And also this one is in direct sponsorship with Magic Madhouse. So they have loads of great product in their website, and if you use the link that's in the description below and code LOTUS5 you get an additional 5% off and it helps the channel, so thanks in advance. So let's start off with the good old ramp. We have Bushwhack, which is a single green for a sorcery where we can choose any one of these modes, search for a basic land and put it in our hand and shuffle, or target creature you control fights target creature we don't control. A lot of these cards will not just fit in ramp or removal, they'll fit in both. But to make it easier and break the cards down, they've been put in these sections. Cosmium Confluence is 4 and a green for a sorcery. We can get to choose 3 modes. And we can choose the same one more than once. Search your library for a cave card, put it onto the battlefield tapped and shuffle. Put 3 +1/+1 counters on a cave you control, it becomes a 0/0 elemental with haste, it's still a land, or destroy target enchantment. I'll be honest, I forgot to put caves in the deck, but there's an improvement already for me. Coming to do this, I've realised I've made a mistake, but if you now know what you can do, there we go. Maybe it should have been in the removal section, who knows. Dance of the Tumbleweeds, 1 and a green. Spree is also a mode because it does say choose 1 or more. For an additional 1 we can search for a basic land or desert. We do have deserts, I didn't make that mistake. Pay an additional 3, we make an XX elemental where X is the number of lands we control. Free Strider Lookout, this one's going to be cheap currently, but I have seen news that this is going up more expensively. 2 and a green for a 3/3 of reach. Whenever you commit a crime, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a land card from them onto the battlefield tapped and put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order, and it only triggers this once a turn. A crime is targeting opponents, anything they control, and all cards in their graveyard is a crime. A lot of our cards do multiple things, like target creature fights target creature we don't control with Bushwhack, or the Confluence where it's destroying enchantments, so we're going to do a lot of crimes. Glimpse the Core, 1 and a green, search 1, search for a basic forest and put it onto the battlefield tapped, or return a cave from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Again, apologies for the lack of caves. But even if it was 2 mana search for a forest, it will trigger our commander regardless if we ignore the second one, so that one I can get away with. Goblin Electromancer is blue and a red for a 2/2, but our instant and sorceries cost 1 less, so it's kind of ramp. Journey of Discovery is 2 and green sorcery. This is an old style of modal spell, so it's laid out slightly differently. But initially it's choose 1, search your library for up to 2 basic lands, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your library. Or you may play up to 2 additional lands this turn, or you can pay the extra to do both. Return to the Wilds is 2 and a green for a sorcery where we get to choose 2. Search for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped and shuffle. Make a 1/1 human and create a food. Titiana's Command is 4 double green, so it's a very expensive ramp card, I'll agree, but we get to choose 2. Exile target player's graveyard and gain 1 life for each card exiled this way. Great graveyard removal. Search for 2 basic land cards and put them onto the battlefield tapped and shuffle. Make 2 2/2 bears, or put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. Every one of them is good in the late game, and granted the ramp is less relevant because it's such an expensive card. Same as Verdant Confluence, which is also 2 green and 4, but you get to choose 3 modes. Put 2+1 counters on target creature. Return a permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Search your library for a basic land card. Put it on the battlefield tapped and shuffle. And we can choose the same mode more than once. Wizard of Thay, I played with a few days ago and I loved it. Obviously a few days from recording. 3 in a blue, 3/3 human wizard with Myriad. So when it attacks one player, it makes a copy attacking the other players. But instant sorcery spells cost 1 less, and you can cast sorceries as if they had flash. So the best way to utilize this was I attacked a player that wouldn't kill the original, sent 2 copies off to my opponents, and before damage or before blocks, I'd then start casting my spells at 3 less to cast and my sorceries at instant speed. You happen upon a glaive is 2 and a green for an instant. Search your library for 2 basic land cards, reveal them, put them in your hand and shuffle, or return a permanent from your graveyard to your hand. Then we have cards that I've designated as card advantage. Archmage Charm is counter target spell. It should be removal, but target player draws 2 cards. That is just good. And then gain control of target non-land permanent with mana value 1 or less. So I consider that more as a card advantage. Confounding Riddle, 2 and a blue for an instant. We can choose one of these 2. Look at the top 4 cards of your library and put one of them in your hand and the rest in the graveyard, or counter a spell unless they pay 4. I was more looking at the card advantage on this one. But again, with so much modal and universal options in your hand, there's so many different things you can do or interact with. Inscription of Insight is 3 and a blue with kicker double blue and 2. Choose one. If this kicked, choose any number instead. Return 2 target creatures to their owner's hand. Scry 2, draw 2. Target player creates an XX blue illusion creature token where X is the number of cards in their hand. Into the Fire, choose one. Deals 2 damage to each creature, planeswalker, and battle, or put any number of cards from your hand on the bottom of your library and draw that many +1. Izzet Charm, blue and a red. We get to choose one. Counter a non-creature spell unless its player controller pays 2. It deals 2 damage to target creature, or draw 2, discard 2. So we can throw 2 cards away that we don't need and hopefully draw into some good ones. Metamorphic Blast is a single blue. An additional 1, we can turn target creature into a 0/1 white rabbit. Or for an additional 3, we can draw 2 cards. Soul Read is 3 and a blue. Choose one. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 4. Or draw 2 cards. And Supreme Will, 2 and a blue. Choose one. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. Or look at the top 4 cards of your library. Put one of them in your hand and the rest on the bottom in any order. We have Trash the Town, single green. For an additional 2, put 2 counters on target creature. And an extra 1, or just an extra 1. Target creature gains trample to end a turn, and for another 1, and to end a turn, target creature gains when this creature does combat damage to a player, draw 2 cards. Now we go on to the cards that I've designated as removal, but again there's going to be different options. Abrade is just removal. 1 and a red, we get to choose either to deal 3 damage to target creature or destroy an artifact. Brutal Expulsion, 2 blue red for an instant with Devoid. Card has no colour if that's relevant. Choose one or both. Return target spell or creature to its owner's hand, so we can counter, in quotation marks, the uncounterable. And it deals 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If that permanent would be put into a graveyard, exile it instead. So if there's an incursion deck that you want to get rid of something permanently, this is pretty good. Burn Down the House, 3 red red. It deals 5 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. Or we create 3 1/1 red devil creature tokens with when they die, they deal 1 damage to any target. They also gain haste to end of turn. And remember, we can put +1 counters on our commanders so we can quickly get out of the range of the 5 damage. Clan Defiance, X red green. We can get to choose one or more. It deals X damage to target creature with flying, X damage to target creature without flying, and X damage to target player or planeswalker. Collective Defiance, 1 red sorcery with Escalate, so we can pay an additional 1 for each mode that we choose beyond the first mode. So target player discards all their cards in their hand and draws that many. We deal 4 damage to target creature, or 3 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. Decisive Denial, green and a blue. We either target creature controls fights target creature we don't control, or counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 3. Fiery Confluence, 2 red sorcery. Choose 3, and we can choose the same mode more than once. Deal 1 damage to each creature, deal 2 damage to each opponent, or destroy target artifact. Good for token wiping, for going wide strategies. Hull Breach, red and a green. We get to choose one. Destroy an artifact, destroy an enchantment, or destroy an artifact and an enchantment. Inscription of Abundance, 1 and a green with kicker, 2 and a green. Choose 1 if the spell was kicked, choose any number of them instead. So put 2+1 counters on a creature. Target player gains X life, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control, and target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. Remember, whatever you do with choosing these modes, you always work down the list. So you put your 2+1 counters on first, then you gain the life equal to its new power, and then increasing the power would then let you fight at a higher power. Insidious Will, 2 blue. Counter a spell, choose new targets for a spell, or copy the spell, and you may choose new targets for the copy. Mystic Confluence, 3 blue. We can choose 3 modes and choose more than once. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. Return target creature to its owner's hand or draw a card. Over the Edge is 1 and a green. Choose 1. Destroy an artifact or enchantment. Target creature you control explores and explores again. Perplexing Test, 3 blue. We get to either return all creature tokens to their owner's hand or non-token creatures to their owner's hand. Quandrix Command, 1 green-blue. We get to choose 2 of these options. Return a creature or planeswalker to its owner's hand. Counter target artifact or enchantment spell. Put 2+1/+1 counters on target creature. Or target player shuffles up to 3 target cards from their graveyard to their library. Return to Nature, destroy an artifact, destroy an enchantment, or exile a card from a graveyard. Savage Alliance, 2 and a red for an Escalate 1, so again pay an additional for each option chosen beyond the first. Creatures target player control gains trample to end of turn. It deals 2 damage to target creature, or it deals 1 damage to each creature target opponent controls, again for those 1/1 go wide strategies. Team Charm is a green, a blue and a red. Target creature control gets +1/+1 to end of turn and it fights target creature you don't control. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3, or creature with power 3 or less can't block this turn. You find a cursed idol, 1 and a green. We get to either smash it, destroy an artifact, lift the curse, destroy an enchantment, or steal its eyes, create a treasure and venture into the dungeon. You find the villain's lair, 1 blue. We either counter a spell, draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. Even if it's 1 blue to counter a spell, it's basically cancel, but it will trigger our commander. Because we're casting so many instants and sorceries, I thought we'd add in some token makers. Murmuring Mystic is basically doing what our commander does by making a 1/1 blue bird illusion with flying every time we cast in some sorcery. Talrand is making 2/2 drakes for the same purpose. And Third Path Ironclass is whenever we do a non-creature spell, so it even includes our enchantments and artifacts, we make a 1/1 colourless soldier. Every deck needs a little bit of recursion, because sometimes your commander will die and it's just too expensive to cast again. So Evolution Charm, 1 and a green, search for a basic land card, reveal it, put it in your hand. Yeah, it should be in ramp, but return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Target creature gains flying till end of turn. Primal Command, 3 green, we get to choose 2. Gain 7 life. Put target non-creature permanent on top of its owner's library. Target player shuffles their graveyard into their library. And search your library for a creature card, reveal it, put it in your hand and shuffle. So if we're going to get milled out, hopefully we can get hold of this and shuffle everything back in. Road of Return, double green. We get to either return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand, or put your commander into your hand from the command zone, avoiding command attacks. Survivor's Bond, 1 and a green. We can choose one or both. Return a human creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Our commander is human. Return target non-human creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Talrand. Then we might as well weaponize all these spells we've been casting. Electrostatic Field is 1 and a red. Defender 0/4. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Fiery Inscription is an enchantment for 2 and a red. When it enters a battlefield, the ring tempts you. But more importantly, whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. Gandalf the Grey, 3 blue-red for a 3/4. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, choose one that hasn't been chosen. This won't trigger our commander, it's just more modal. You may tap or untap target permanent. It deals 3 damage to each opponent. Copy target instant or sorcery spell, and you may choose new targets for the copy. And then put Gandalf back on its owner's library. So we'll put it back on our library, draw it again, play it again. It's a bit of a finicky thing, but 3 damage to each opponent's pretty good, and copying our spells is pretty good. Gutter Snipe, 2 and a red. Whenever we cast an instant or sorcery spell, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. Kessig Flame Breather, 1 and a red. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. And good old Niv Mizzet Parun, triple blue, triple red. This spell can't be countered, it's a flying 5/5 dragon wizard. And whenever you draw a card, Niv Mizzet puts 1 damage on any target. And whenever a player casts an instant sorcery spell, any player, we draw a card. And because we can basically make our commander, not Voltron, but he's going to get big with the +1 counters if you choose that way. We need some combat tricks. Choose your weapon is 2 and a green, so we get to choose either double target creature's power and toughness to end of turn, or this spell deals 5 damage to target creature with flying. Jailbreak Scheme is a blue, and then with Spree we can pay 3 extra to put a +1 counter on target creature and it can't be blocked this turn, or +2 target artifact or creature owner puts it on the top or bottom of their library. Reverse the Polarity, 1 blue. We either counter all other spells, switch each creature's power and toughness to end of turn, or creatures can't be blocked this turn. We're doing it for the can't be blocked on this one. Simic Charm, green and a blue. Choose one, target creature gets +3/+3 to end of turn, or permanents you control gain hexproof to end of turn, or return target creature to its owner's hand. Twinferno, 1 and a red. This one is a great card I love in my standard deck. When you cast your next instant or sorcery spell, copy that spell. You may choose new targets to copy, or target creature you control gains double strike to end of turn. You come to a river, 1 and a blue. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, or target creature gets +1/+0 and can't be blocked this turn. You look upon the Tarrasque, 4 and a green. We get to choose either Run and Hide, prevent all combat damage to be dealt to you this turn and to creatures you control, or target creature gets +5/+5 and gains indestructible to end a turn. All creatures your opponents control able to block that creature do so. So we can swing with a 1/1 soldier that we've made, make it a 5/5 indestructible, everything blocks it, and then we get through with our commander, or we just give it indestructible. You see a guard approach, a single blue, tap target creature, or target creature control gains hexproof to end of turn. A little bit of protection there. More protection is Champion's Helm with the good reprint. So 3 mana for a 1 equip artifact that gives +2/+2, but as long as it's equipped to a creature that's legendary, it has hexproof. It's going on a commander. Markers of Avacyn, 2 mana equipment and equipped for 3. Your creature gets +1/+2 and has hexproof. And good old Swifty Boots, hexproof and haste, 2 mana artifact equipped for 1. So the mana base, I've already admitted I forgot about caves. Yes, roast me in the comments. So put them in or change that spell. I'd say put them in. But we have the deserts. I love these new cards. They enter the battlefield tapped, but when they enter, they deal 1 damage to target opponent, causing a crime. So earlier in our ramp section, we can then trigger that. We have good old Faithful Command Tower. We have Frontier Buvak, taps for 1 of each colour. We have Riptide Laboratory, which adds a colourless, but for 1 and a blue, we can turn a wizard you control to its owner's hand. Our commander is a wizard, so if we want to quickly protect it, we can bounce it to our hand. Rogue's Passage to get through for unblockable damage. Scavenger Grounds. It's a land desert that adds a colourless, and we can pay 2 and sacrifice a desert to exile all graveyards. So we can actually go back to the Bristling Backwoods, Eroded Canyon and Lush Oasis and sacrifice them to the Scavenger Grounds, and then sacrifice Scavenger Grounds itself in a real pinch. We also have the 3 temples, Abandon, Epiphany and Mystery. I don't care what people say. I quite like these in budget decks. You know, a little bit of filtering for scrying 1. In the early game, they're pretty good. And then the basic mana base is just 3 of each land. That should be a mountain in the middle. Let me do something in post-production. Magical, put it in mountain. There we go. So, 8 plains, 8 mountains, 8 swamps. And this is the deck list. So, as you can see, the total comes to $19.70 on TCG Marketplace and €19.46 on Card Market. Again, we don't count the basic lands because people can give you those for free or you've got them lying around. They come in pretty much every product. But otherwise, I'm hoping that this deck makes sense, because there's a lot of cards that cross a lot of different sections, like card draw spells in the ramp section, etc. But that's what I think makes this deck great. You draw your opening 7, and you've got about 6 different options from 4 cards, just what you want to do with them. But other than the caves, what are your thoughts? I'd love to hear how you would build Riku. Or what cards would you add? How would you change it by putting caves in? Or just have you built this deck prior or have an interest in building this deck? I'd love to see your deck lists, and I'd like to see how you thought that this went. But otherwise, thanks very much. Have a great one, and I'll catch you in the next one.